Okay, to make these fingerless mitts, we're going to be using worsted weight yarn, and I did a lot in various brands. I did a few in Red Heart. I'm doing the demo in this Lion brand Woolies. My goal right now is to destash. So some of these have older labels. They might be partial skeins. This is a great partial skein project. So Woolies in worsted, Red Heart worsted. I'll give other examples on the website where the pattern is. So if you need other options, but anything worsted, this is a fairly easy project. It doesn't have to be super on gauge because you can adjust it. So it's mostly for the grip around your hand. If it's feeling a little big, just minus a couple of rows, and I'll talk about that more later. But don't get too stuck on what yarn to use. Just find a worsted weight. That should be perfectly fine in pretty much any brand. And then for the pattern, I am using a 6mm J hook. So this one is from Furls. I love their resin line just because they are so pretty. Look how pretty that is. And they're super light. They're very comfortable to use. So I'll link this in the description as well if you want to go check these out. They are just a pleasure to work with, but I also love Clover Soft Touch, so I'll give you those links as well, so that different price points, because these are a little bit more expensive. And if you're just starting out, they're not necessary. You can get a cheaper hook to make do, but this one's just really fun to look at while you're stitching, so that's why I use it. And then the only other thing you'll need is a needle to weave in your ends. This is a very simple project. The pattern is down below in the description, so go grab that and we'll get started. Okay, to start our little arm warmers, we are going to start with a chain of 25. We don't need it too loose, too tight, just kind of make normal chains. We're joining this at the end. It's worked flat and then we join it, so it's not going to be super visible on our foundation chain, so don't worry too much about it. Just get to 25 chains and then we'll start with row 1. Okay, I've got my 25 chains and now I'm ready for row 1 instructions. So in the third chain for my hook, so here's my very first one, here's number 2 and here's number 3, I am going to do a half double crochet. The skip 2 chains is going to count as a half double crochet as well. So I'm just going to work into the back loop. That'll make it easy for me to join the other side when we put this together. And then we're just going to half double crochet across in each chain. With that skipped chain 2 that's counting as a half double, we'll have 24 total, so 23 actual half double crochets, and then 1 that is a chain 2. And that's always really important to remember because we work into that stitch on the next row, and if you don't, your thing will suddenly just start shrinking. So go ahead and do your half doubles and we'll come back for row 2. Okay, here's my very last chain and my last half double. Now we're going to start our repeat for the most part. So it's really a 2-row repeat that we're going to just keep doing all the way around until we get to the finger hole. But we want to do a chain 2 to start, and every chain 2 is going to count as a half double crochet. What that means is we do not work into our first stitch. So if you turn your stitches sideways, I always say look at the V's. That's your very first stitch. You're not going to work into it because you did a chain 2. So we're going to skip to this next stitch and we're going to work in the back loop only. So every half double from here on out, we're going to be working in the back loop only. So when you're doing that, look at your V's. You have your front loop that's facing you and the back loop that's away from you. So you're going to work just into that one single loop. And then we're going to start our cables. So we're doing front post double crochet, and the reason that we're switching to a double crochet is because when we're working it down below. If we did a front post half double crochet, it would squish everything down. We need the next size up from our current stitch, so that way it'll come back up to the height of the half double. So with all that said, if you're not used to doing post stitches, this one is a nice, easy beginner. What we're doing is we're looking below. So here's the first stitch in the chain 2. Those are going up. Then we have our half double of our next one in our second stitch here. Then we have these number 3 and number 4 next. So the first thing we're going to do is yarn over. We're going to look for number 4. So again, you can go 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to work around that whole post. So if I pull it apart, you see 2 big holes. So I'm going to go in on the right hole, around the back of it, out the other side. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop. So that gives me my front post because I want it in the front. And then we're going to yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. So I skipped one of my stitches. That's because I'm making a cross. So I'm crossing that way and now I'm coming back to cross this way. So let me yarn over first to get ready. Now I want to go around number 3. So here's 1, 2, 3. I can pull that apart and see those 2 big holes that I need to go through. So this one's a little bit awkward because you're going backwards. You're still going to the right side, around the back, and then out the left side. Yarn over, pull up the loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. So our next stitch is going to be a half double crochet in the back loop only to separate our cables. This is where you could end up losing stitches. So this is how it really is going to lay. So you can see it looks more crossed over here. So when we're doing this, we want to make sure we're not putting our stitch into one that we should be skipping. So when we made those 2 post stitches, we technically did not work into the top loops of our stitches. So if we're not placing this correctly, we're going to lose some stitches by the time we get to the end, or kind of add more stitches than we should have. So what we want to do is we want to look at our very next stitch, since these are both of our crosses. We want to look at our very next stitch and we want to work into the back loop of that. So you see that there's this loop to choose from and this one to choose from. What you can do, you can kind of come back here and look for those top loops. Here's 1, here's 2. Those are the 2 that we need to skip. So we need to work into the one that's kind of directly above that next stitch, not to the right, even though it's kind of visible. It's going to go invisible when we finish this stitch because it's going to finally cross over and then it's not there. So this one's going straight up into that. So we are going to do 2 more cables. So when we do that, here's our stitch here. So we have 1 post, 2 post. So we're going to start with our second post, go from the right to the left. I yarned over already, pull up, pull through 2, pull through 2, again, yarn over. Now go back 1. Here's the one we just made. Go back 1, pull it apart if you need to. Go to the right, out the left, pull up a loop, off 2, off 2. So now we've got 2 crosses with our 1 stitch in the middle. We're going to do the same thing. Here's our 2. We need to go on that third of these 3 stitches to join, or to do our next stitch. So HDC in the back loop only. Sometimes if I'm feeling not confident, I will stop and I will turn my work around and I'll look to see if I only have 2 skip stitches. So you can see my 2 that I skipped there and then the 2 that I skipped there. So far so good. And this is our last cable. By the end of this, you'll be pro at cables. So here's this stitch. We're 1, 2, go into number 2 here, around the back, pull up the loop, pull off 2, yarn over, back over here, around the back, pull up, off 2, off 2. That's the end of the cables. That's the wrist section. Now we're going to be doing the fingers, which is just HDC in the back loop only. So again, we're going straight up here, doing our next half double crochet, and it's going to be 14 stitches. So that's also how you can help tell. You can count backwards from over here. Make sure you count that chain 2. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, the first one that I'm working into. So you can do that once you finish your cables, just to make sure there's those 2 stitches we skipped. But those are a couple checkpoints that you can give yourself if this is your very first cable project and you want to make sure that you're not getting off track as you go. Just count back the 14 and look for those 2 missed stitches between each of your half double crochets in the back loop only. And that will help you. So I'm going to go over here to the end, and then we're going to do our second row of our 2-row repeat. Okay, here I am at the last 2 stitches. You have to remember, that looks weird almost because it looks like we already finished the row, but remember we have that chain 2 that we need to work into. So you have to do your last stitch in that chain 2, and I need to yarn over first. I'm going to grab 2 loops of that, and then do your last half double. It looks like you're almost adding a stitch, but once you start your next row, it will kind of even out. It looks wrong, so if it looks wrong, you're doing it right. So that's the tip of the day. If it looks wrong, you're right. Now for our second row repeat, which is a row 3, this one's nice and easy. We're just gonna chain 2, which is going to count as that first half double crochet, and then we're going to half double crochet in every stitch across, so 23 more. So kind of just like row 1. So that's all we're doing. We're doing across, then the cables. We'll come back and do the cables one more time together, but we're going to do that until we get to row 10. And then we will make our thumb hole. So I'm going to finish this row, and then we'll do some cables together again, and we'll do them kind of normal speed so you can see how fast you'll be by the time you finish these. Okay, I'm down to my last 2 stitches. So again, do not forget to work into your chain 2 on both ends. So that's my 23rd stitch, and then I'm working into my chain 2 here. And you'll see that that has evened out on this end. Now it doesn't look strange. And on this end, it's looking a little strange. So if you're looking wrong, you're doing it right. So now we're going to do our cables again. We've got the same situation as down below. So we're going to chain 2, skip that very first stitch, half double crochet in the second stitch in the back loop only. Then I'm looking for 3 and 4. So here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going into number 4 around the back. Then I'm going to go into number 3 around the back. Then I'm going to half double in the back loop only on number 5 here. Again, I can look backwards and see the 2 that I need to skip and work into this guy. It's always kind of like to the leftish is basically, you want to go more to the left rather than to the right when you're looking at those if you're trying to decide which one to go into. So that one goes with this. So we have 1 and 2. And you'll see also right below, here's our cross. It's leading right to that one. So we're going to double there, go backwards and around the one we skipped. Then we're going to go over here to our half double in the back loop. Now here's my thing pointing me to this guy, or 1, 2. Now when you're working these, one other thing to note is that you have like kind of these holes here that you could work into. That's not the ones you want to go into. That's not going to give you a very good post. a good cable look. So you want to go through the really big holes. Don't go into those smaller holes right above it. This will give you more dimension. So those are done. Now I just have 14 half double crochets. And then I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to do the half doubles back in the back loop only. And then just keep repeating rows 2 and 3 until we get to row 10, which is going to be a cable row, but we're going to put in our thumb hole. So I will come back on row 10 to show you how we are going to do that. Okay, I'm here on row 10, about to do the thumb hole like this one here. Very simple to do. I've already done my cables, so now I just need to do my HDC in the back loop only. So first I'm going to do 4 HDC in the back loop only. Okay, and then we're going to make the thumb hole by chaining 4. So we're going to chain 4 nice and tight. And then we're going to skip the next 4 stitches. So look for your V's, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to half double crochet in the last 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, to finish that off. Okay, so that is the only row with anything different. I'll come back this way just so you can see what we're doing here. So we're gonna do, of course, in the back loop only. When we get to our thumb hole, we're gonna do the same. We're just gonna go into the back loop, not work around the entire thing. That way it just gives the same look. So again, rather than work around the entire chain, we're just going to keep on working in that back loop only, as such. And then that gives us more of the same kind of look that we have, rather than it wrapping all the way around the chain. Just looks slightly different, looks a little better. So keep on continuing. We are going to go and repeat these 2 rows until we reach row 18, and then we will join our wrist warmers. So keep on going. I'll see you at the end of row 18, and then I'll show you how we're going to join these. Okay, here I am at the end of row 18 doing my very last stitch, and we're ready to join. But first I'm going to talk about if you need to adjust the size of this. You can really move the thumb hole to anywhere you like, as long as it's on a cable row. So if you want to do that right at the very beginning, whatever you like. I kind of put it on the opposite side of the join. But if you need to make these bigger or smaller, depending on your wrist size, these are about a 7-inch around with the gauge that I've given. But even if you don't want to make gauge, or if you're off a little bit, what you can do is adjust by multiples of 2 rows. So if you need it smaller, take off the last 2 rows. If you need it bigger, add multiples of 2 rows so that you can adjust the actual circumference to go around your wrist comfortably. This is unstretched, so these do stretch a lot. So you probably won't need to change it, but just in case, that is available. So now we are ready to join. So we're going to put our right sides facing together. And what's funny is I like even the wrong side of this. I think it's got a cool look to it. So if you like that side better, then flip it. Put those 2 together when you're doing your join. It's pretty reversible. So what we're gonna do is put our right sides facing together, and then we're gonna leave our loop on our hook, and we're gonna do a slip stitch join. So to do that, we're going to be working under the 2 loops of this last stitch that we just made. So you can just enter right on in there. And then you're gonna join it with the and make sure you're getting your chain from that other side and not your very first stitch, or you'll be one stitch off. And then we're going to enter through that and then pull through both and pull through the loop on your hook. And so essentially we're just doing a big giant slip stitch through everything. Now we're going to go into the next one. So always look for those 2 V's at the top for your stitch. This is your chain row. This is the beginning row. I like to get both of those 2 leftover chains. So the bottom bump and the front loop. And then we're going to do the same. Pull through on your hook. I'm not tightening it down as I go because I want these stitches to lay pretty flat along the edge. If I sit there and I pull on this and tighten it, it's gonna like scrunch up my edge and not make it lay flat because it's making all the stitches super tight and they're gonna wanna pull that way. So make sure you have a good amount of slack, not a ton, you know, but enough that where when you bring it over, it's right in line. So I'm not, you know, pulling it and then trying to go in. I have a little bit of slack and then I'm going into the next 2, pulling through. So you should be able to line these up pretty well so that you can see exactly what you're going through. You should be able to go kind of right through everything easily. And then I kind of pull up here, so you can say I kind of pull up and then pull through again to keep that chain kind of big so that way it's not scrunching my edge down. And we're going to do that all the way across for all 24 stitches. So I'll speed this up. When you get here near the end, it may look like you only have 1 stitch left on this side and 2 on this side. Remember, you have those chains, so this one here is part of the last normal stitch. And then you're gonna go into your chain stitch just like we did kind of with the first stitch over here on this side. So go through that and go through that last one. Pull that, whoop, I lost it. Pull that through, and then you're going to fasten off so you can weave in your ends. Okay, once you get your ends woven in, you're ready to turn it right side out. But I just wanted to show you what the actual edge looks like. And if you like this side better, you know, you can flip it around. But if you want to make them truly reversible, you can do a whip stitch. I'll link to that video. It creates like an invisible seam, which is really cool. But for this, it's just a quick, easy join that you don't have to do anything special. You don't need a needle or anything. But flip it to the right side out, and now you're ready to be nice and comfy for the colder days ahead. But I would love to see what you make. I have all of my socials in the description, so go follow and link me so I can see what colors you use. But I am Deja with Knit and Crochet Ever After, and thank you for watching.